Contrary to many beliefs, I have been following this market extensively. You probably know that if you're in the private groups like the J5 Council or even the Patreon. I don't really post a lot in the Discord, but I've been really locked into the market. And don't get me wrong, to be fair, it's been very frustrating, increasingly frustrating. It seems like every time we get a little bit of momentum, something happens with Trump, whether it be the tariffs, whether it be the tension that we're seeing with Iran and Israel. And of course, I do preach peace and positivity on this video, but well, on this channel to be to be clear. But you know what's really kind of funny about this whole situation is I created a model May, right? And then we we updated the model in June 1st, right? Now, the model can't predict a black swan event or predict what exactly may happen or why it may happen, but it says, hey, there's a good chance this could happen as far as price action. And even though the model couldn't predict the black swan event, you can see that our model here, and you can see I created this June 1st, guys. Comprehensive analysis for June 1st. And you know what's crazy here is that the model predicted that we would get a late June deepening correction, right? Bearish trend resumes. Renewed vigor, equities declining another 5 to 10% in Bitcoin, dropping 20 to 30% from these current levels. So the model can't predict exactly why this would happen, but it is kind of crazy that it predicted a correction in late June, and that's pretty much what we're getting now. We can say that this correction is happening because of the war tension. I get it, right? And I'm not denying that. In fact, I'm actually excited that the market has been able to hold this type of strength. More so whales in institutions. If we just flip over to the sentiment and we're asking ourselves if retail is truly here, it's not, right? And we talk about this a lot in the council. Salute to my boy Mike. He dropped a hit piece in there explaining why he doesn't believe retail is here and why retail has no incentive to come into crypto right now, which I totally agree, because no one wants to come into crypto in the midst of all this tension and get wrecked, right? Now, the flip side of that is that we are taught, right, by some of the greatest investors of all time that you buy the fear, you buy the blood in the streets, right? When everybody is fearful, you buy. The altcoin index is probably the lowest it's been since, since the pandemic? 2023. You can see altcoin season indicator is the lowest, right? So historically, this has always been the best time. It's the most painful time, right? But it's always historically the best time to add to your backs. And I know if you go on YouTube and you go look through YouTubers' videos, including mine, you probably seen us saying that for a very long time. And I get it. Now, in the back pocket, and what I truly believe that has to help us out at this point is the fact that the market still hasn't priced in these rate cuts. Now, the Fed says they're pricing in, well, they only plan to do 2 rate cuts, right? That's what they see across the horizon. The Fed Watch 2 says there could possibly be 3. I don't know what's going to happen. I don't know how it's going to happen, but I'm seeing in September, it says we can get an 86% chance of ease, 70% chance of ease here in 80% is October 17, 70% in September. In December, a 96% chance of ease. In the midst of this, we don't have a FOMC meeting in August or November, but usually they do either the Jackson Hole in August and the Fed minutes in November. So the Fed still is going to talk. And Trump himself has been irate with Jay Powell and calling him outside his name and why he truly believes that these rates are cut. So I don't want to get into the macro aspect of this. All I'm saying that there's a good chance that the market has not priced in these Fed cuts. And our model has predicted that we should see, right? We should see some type of move from Bitcoin somewhere around the end of Q3 and Q4, right? And normally altcoin season starts 30 to 60 days after, post peak of the Bitcoin price. And I've made countless models of you guys, for you guys, showing you post-halving correction to peak, post-halving to price peak, post-halving to pi cycle peak. So we know we have historical data. And based on the historical data, we know that technically there should be some time left for Bitcoin to break the pi cycle top indicator. But we're running out of time. We got about 140 days based on the historic 4-year cycle. This could easily turn into an inverted head and shoulders. That's what you would want. You want an explosion from here. We had a mini black swan event. Bitcoin is still at 100K, which is critical support if we are still in a bull market, though we are getting sell signals across the board on our script here. So let's actually remove that, because the stock RSI is over bought there, headed into negative sentiment, and also a lack thereof when we talk about momentum. Now let's just go here to the bull market bands. We're going to throw those on, and you can see here Bitcoin is clearly holding this bull market band. So as far as BTC, it's showing us that it's not over yet, right? The strength is still there, right? This market has been a market that requires patience, but also it's been a market where you probably have been forced to pivot at some point, right? If you just holding the same tokens and just believing that we're going to get an altcoin season, you probably didn't make no money in this cycle. I'm sorry to tell you, you probably ain't make no money in this cycle, which is messed up, right? And a lot of people who did pivot, who did rotate, who did flip, received flat, including myself. But I would never take that bet, because it put myself in a position to have a fruitful portfolio. Now, my portfolio has been shit since the halving and since Trump's inauguration. I think everybody can agree. But if you were able to take advantage of some of these narratives in crypto, you made some money. You probably didn't make as much money as anybody in 2020, 2021 altcoin season, but there was opportunities, and there's been opportunities even with memes, AI, and RWA plays. Now, what to expect? Because we got to go over what's happening in the market. This is my crypto bulletin board. I'm going to take a sip of my coffee. All right, so ignore the Bitcoin price there. I don't know why that price is wrong, but just ignore that. All right, so we know we had the tension, right? The crypto market faced a sharp downturn following U.S. airstrikes on Iran's nuclear facilities. That right there, we don't know if that's over. We just got to watch the price, right? And we got to see if Bitcoin can hold 100K. We did get the Genius Act. The U.S. Senate passed the Genius Act, creating the first federal framework from the $250 billion stablecoin market. Treasury Secretary Scott Bessent projects the stablecoin market could reach $2 trillion by 2028. And if we swing over here to DeFi Llama, you can see we're sitting at 271 billion of the stablecoin market cap, and it has been exploding. So this technically is bullish. This is bullish, right? This is bullish. Would like to see more ETF inflows, but apparently BlackRock sold ETH and Michael Saylor bought more BTC. I also would not get too caught up into the global M2. You can see the global M2 has been exploding, but Bitcoin price still looks like it's fighting that double top. And if we swing over here, guys, we don't need a double top. We need the next leg up to continue and the trend to be our friend until the end, taking us well over 150 to somewhere between 150,000 and 180, which would break my model, which says we top out between 120 and 130. So I want my model to be broke, because if it does, we will finally see some type of movement from altcoins, right? So we know Bitcoin adoption continues to accelerate as Michael Saylor purchases more Bitcoin. Skip that. We don't want to talk about Cardano, this week's expectations. We're still waiting for the market to recover. I looked at the stock market. It looked kind of weak, right? But of course, it's still early. It's still Monday. We still need more information as the week goes on because of the geopolitical risk. Even though we got the Genius Act in progress, it still hasn't been signed by President Trump. So that's something that could be a catalyst for the market. We want to pay attention to the institutional flow, even though BlackRock has been selling ETH. That's something to pay attention to. I think Solana has some token unlocks. And of course, the FOMC decision impact. We'll look into the retail sales, jobless claims, all the things that we do every week, right? So I'm just getting back into the flow as far as creating content. But I understand the frustration of everybody out there because everybody like, man, Millie, when is altcoin season happening? And I'm here to tell you, until the Fed stops restricting monetary policy and until quantitative tightening ends, we will have no altcoin season. We'll have rotations, narratives pop off, maybe a few meme coins pop off, right? And if you're in the council, you know, we share memes. Memes still can make you money, right? Altcoins can still make you money if you're buying, if you're kind of like trading them, right? Not per se buying and holding. This ain't that type of market. So I challenge anybody that's watching this video, like, what do we truly need? What do we truly need to get retail back excited about crypto? Because the excitement just isn't there. I would also challenge anybody that's watching this video that has interest in the market, that truly believes in the cryptocurrency market, to look at this opportunity and understand that from a mental perspective, yes, this could be painful, buying while everything's crashing, but black swan events, if you have a consistent, stable income, can create millionaires, regardless of what you buy. Look, AI isn't going anywhere, right? We just had the Tesla robo taxis go live, right, for $4.50 per ride. Now, I don't know how it actually works. I haven't tried it myself. I think it's only live in Texas for now, in Austin. But this is a testament of where we're headed in AI. So I would keep this shit super simple if I was DCAing AI projects, right? If you are interested in you know, the Tau ecosystem, I just did drop a new I dropped something new for Tau. I'm not even gonna share that, but I did drop something new for the Tau. I'll share it right here, but go check the Patreon. So I did drop a Tau subnet dashboards of the Tau subnets that's actually rising stars, but you can go anywhere, right? It doesn't necessarily have to be Tau. I'm just giving you an idea. Some people like virtuals. Some people like what's happening on virtuals and AI. Some people like Solana, what's happening over there. But pay attention to the strength in the market, but understand that we know right now the narratives that are going to be the most fruitful. And I think that it's a clear as day that AI is going to lead the way as far as crypto narratives, followed by RWA and maybe some layer ones and meme coins. Then you got DPIN and stuff like that. But AI, RWA, memes, I think those three are going to lead the way as far as strength in the market. So it is what it is. I'm probably going to live stream a little bit later today. I might get a live stream, but I got to get back to trading. I want to give you guys an update. Jasmine fam, I got an update coming on Jasmine. Zebec fam, I got an update coming on Zebec. So stay strong. That's all I can say is just, man, stay strong. I just want to give you guys an outlook of what I'm seeing inside the market. It did kind of freak me out that this model was so precise. Even though it can't predict black swan events, it has a good understanding of how the charts work. The total 3 is kind of scaring me because we're not getting no volume on alts. The altcoin dominance is getting wrecked, but it is oversold. And we did print a sell signal, and that sell signal was valid, right? So if anybody sold when I first talked about this sell signal, you probably made money. I talked about this in the J5 Council, how this sell signal could have been a false signal because I noticed the strength in the market, right? Bitcoin was hanging around 109,000, though nobody could predict that Iran and Israel was going to, you know, start a war, right? And it is what it is. It is what we can't do nothing about that type of shit. You can see the others dominance right here. These are the micro caps. You're probably wondering why your micro caps are getting crushed. This is the others dominance, and the Bitcoin dominance is still rising. So as soon as the Bitcoin dominance stops rising And we see some, even the stock market, it's the spy. Even the stock market wants to show strength. I don't know. This week could be a little bit. I don't like making predictions because these weeks, this crypto shit is too unpredictable, right? It's like if you make predictions, you can be either wrong or right, but it's just like, who the fuck knows, right? But if we go to the VIX, you can see that the VIX, and I looked at the RSI and the VIX is oversold, right? Script here, bull market. The VIX is oversold when I looked at the stock RSI, but it's under its bull market bands, which is bullish. If we look here at the DXY, under its bull market bands, showing strength, oversold because I looked at the stock RSI, but it's under those bands and it's bullish. And hopefully we can keep this downtrend to continue, right? So as long as the VIX stays in check and the DXY continues to be under 100, we have a chance for a cryptocurrency rally. As far as retail goes, right? I don't know if retail, I don't think retail can break out of this pattern, even though it's above the bull market bands, without a Fed cut. I would argue that retail's still hurting. I don't know how you guys is feeling, but I would argue that retail is still hurting. I would argue that retail doesn't give a fuck about real retail. Now that's crypto heads, but retail don't give a fuck about crypto. I remember when everybody was asking about crypto, and when I talk about crypto to some of my people, some of my friends, I'll talk about it just to see like if they ask any more questions. They don't even ask any more questions. They be like, oh yeah, okay. And then we move on to talking about the NBA finals or some shit. But back then it was like they were asking me about crypto. The YouTube videos are in views are down tremendously. Like I remember when I dropped the Jasmine video, views, now Jasmine has dropped tremendously. So it's just like retail just isn't here, right? So the cryptocurrencies that's going to be doing good right now are ones that have the most institutional interest when we're talking about top altcoins in the top 100. But so much of this stuff, guys, is oversold that if you do believe altcoin season is coming in Q4, this could be an optimal chance to add to your bags. And I know nobody wants to add to their bag. Nobody wants to fucking add to their bags of crypto. We've been adding our bags forever. Look at this. Look at these charts, right? This could be the end of the bull run, or this could be the start of the last leg. Your perspective is your reality. I know there's going to be some people that's negative in the comments. I know there's going to be some people that's optimistic in the comments. But at the end of the day, it is what it is. So pay attention to strength. Understand narratives, know what you buy. We have had so much time to research and have an idea of what we're going to buy, what we're going to believe in. But don't fall in love with none of this stuff, man, because holding is still a thing, but we need a coin to bring back like the essence of belief and hodling and holding. So yeah, I want to make a quick video. I'm going to try to do a live stream. I'm putting together some things, building some things, and, having fun. But don't let this market stress you out, guys. Continue to stay focused. And most importantly, continue to make sure you have a consistent amount of revenue coming in so you can be able to adjust if some opportunities do present themselves. It's your boy, Crypto Millie, and I'll see you in the next one.